What is visual effects? Simply put, visual effects are a blanket term referring to any method that makes it possible to create a scene or effect that could not otherwise be produced with regular photographic techniques. Our brief was to create a moving camera shot with simulated CG elements and animated 3D CG character placed in a live-action environment. For my assignment, I chose to create a water simulation of a mysterious vault appearing from beneath a deep lake. This was an ambitious project, as water simulation is one of the most difficult CG elements to blend seamlessly with a given shot. This leads into my question of how do you create a realistic illusion of water in film and the complications that entails. In Research for Designers, A Guide to Method and Practice, Joko Mirotovsky says that the biggest challenge here is that design has been traditionally placed under the domain of applied arts rather than science. Then again, art and science do not necessarily need to be separated from each other. During the time of the Renaissance, merging both was customary practice for the leading creatives of the period. For myself, this rings true, as I have always had a deep interest in science and the unknown and undiscovered. I've been experimenting in different ways my entire life, and the prospect of working with cutting-edge software that relies heavily on physics struck a chord with me. Water is the most elegant form in nature, as it flows around, surrounds, and morphs into any shape possible, which is why it is so often avoided in the effects industry, as it's equally the most difficult to imitate. In the film Kong Skull Island, the fight scene between Kong and one of the other creatures is shot entirely over a massive swamp, so each iteration of movement requires a massive amount of water simulation, as each swing and step by both must entail a huge amount of water to be uplifted by these CG characters. However, as you increase the scale of your work, other negative factors appear. In the Spanish Computer Graphics Conference of 2015, Jorge Lopez Moreno and Mathieu Sebert stated that computational efficiency is one of those factors. Better simulation times give artists the ability to iterate quickly over a shot and reach the desired look faster. But efficiency often competes with other practical factors, such as constraints on the simulation domain, memory consumption, resolution settings, or controllability. Part of what limited my work was the deadline of the assignment and the availability of the Houdini software, as during the experimentation process, in order to manipulate the settings of the simulation to best match that of the real water, I had to wait over an hour for each iteration. Whereas for blockbuster films, like those mentioned before, use massive render farms of hundreds of supercomputers to execute high-quality fluid simulations used in modern-day movies. This case study was helpful because it displays a great deal about the movement of water while interacting with the scene and what happens on a larger scale. In my scene, the scale is quite small, as the vault is only slightly larger than the man in my shot. This meant that the size of the particles could be significantly larger and the general number of voxels used would be less than that displayed in Kong. It has also influenced my interpretation of the velocity and the trajectory of particles, as the vault moves relatively slowly out of the water. Furthermore, Pirates of the Caribbean, Dead Men Tell No Tales is significantly more like what my project would look like. This scene was a major inspiration for my work, as the visual effects team has managed to seamlessly integrate the animated sharks and water simulation to appear realistically in the scene. This brings the audience into the moment and the emotions of the characters, as if they're not just looking at a bunch of special effects, but instead a truly exhilarating instant in the film. So how have they done this? I put this mainly down to the blending of the water with the shot. This is where the post-production was very important for my assignment. When attempting water simulation, it is important to keep small scale and think about the water you're trying to imitate to allow seamless transition to the final product.